You know, I've won 6 Ironman 70.3 races and a challenge half race now. It's still a huge thrill to win those races, but nothing will match the thrill of my first 70.3 win. So it's time to move on to the next challenge. And me being so anxious and nervous leading to this race, that just signals to me that this is something that I care about. It's a positive emotion ultimately, even if it has some negative repercussions sometimes. It just shows that I've invested a lot in this and I care deeply about it and I'm passionate about it, and it's positive in that sense. This training block's actually gone really smoothly. It's almost unprecedented for me to take 9 weeks off in the middle of the season without racing, but I really set the intention of making this the priority for 2018, my Ironman debut, and I wanted to get this right. In the past, when I've had these long blocks in the middle of the season, I've inevitably lost focus at some point. It's easy to manage like a nice bite-sized 3 to 5 week block, and I'm really good, I have those figured out. But these 9 week blocks, it's hard to just stay razor focused the entire time and really stay on top of your training and recovery. So that's been a challenge. When things are going so well with 70.3 racing, exactly why would I want to race an Ironman? But the time just felt right. I'm 28 years old this year. For male long course pros, that's sort of the earliest age you can conceivably be at a world-class level for the most part. And I just started to get that itch. I'm curious. Every time I've stepped up in distance, I've done better. So I'm hoping the trend can extrapolate up to Ironman. So given that this is my first Ironman, I'm more focused not on the outcome, but on the process and on the execution on the day. So things like my splits for the swim, bike, and run, and my mental state throughout the race. Can I stay positive? And if that results in a podium, I'll be thrilled. I was surprised to see that Lionel Sanders will be racing. And at first, I didn't take that super well because I did choose Mont-Tremblant as a race that I thought I could conceivably win if everything went well. Obviously, with Lionel on the start list, having been second at Kona last year, it's going to be a much tougher race to win. So Mont-Tremblant is a race that typically draws, I won't say a weak field, but a shallower field, but always some world-class guys at the top level. And also, how could I resist the home field advantage there? Looking at the race, a race that's hilly and cool, historically hasn't been my best conditions. Most of my wins have come in hot, flat, and windy races. But earlier this season, in June, when I won Ironman 70.3 Victoria, that was a cool race and it was hilly, so it kind of broke the trend for my past wins and gave me some confidence going into Mont-Tremblant. Looking at the back half of this season, I deliberately haven't actually set any races yet for this fall because I want to see how this Ironman goes. If I'm totally enamored with Ironman, I'll definitely pick another one this year, like maybe Chattanooga or Kentucky or Cozumel, a course that I like a lot. If it really doesn't go well or I'm not so thrilled with it, I'll go back to my usual 70.3 grind and go on a 70.3 rampage in the fall like last year. I've always liked the approach of doing a good build and then doubling up with races. So I've done a lot of blocks where I've done a good build and then raced 2 70.3s 2 weeks apart. Now it's maybe not advisable to race Ironmans 2 weeks apart, especially for your debut, but I think that I've banked all this fitness over this colossal 9-week block all summer without racing. Be ashamed to only have one go to prove that fitness. So I would like to kind of take a little break after Tremblant, reevaluate, and then set my sights on another race pretty soon. I haven't done any absurdly long days. I've seen some of my friends training for Ironman, maybe doing a 9-hour ride or something crazy like that, or even some of my 70.3 friends will do a 7-hour training day. I think the longest I've done so far is about 7 hours. It'd be a swim in the morning for about an hour, say a 4K swim, and then a 6-hour ride, and I've only done that once. So typically it's just a lot of consistent days in the 4 to 6 hour range and not so much longer. I find that epic training days, I used to do a lot more of them, and they made me feel good, they boosted my esteem, it was awesome to put on Strava and social media, but they didn't serve my objectives in terms of consistency. So I'll take 5 or 6 consistent days a week versus 1 or 2 epic sessions when you're in bed the other days because you're so exhausted. Well, leading into the race, Lionel changes my approach in the sense that it takes some pressure off me. Tactically on race day, he doesn't really change my race execution plan a whole lot. I've raced him a ton. It's going to give the race almost kind of like an intimate local race feel because Lionel and I have been racing since our early 20s at races around Ontario. So it's kind of surreal to be racing on the world stage with Lionel when it feels like a local race we'd been doing almost 10 years ago now. If Lionel's in sight at any point during the run, I'm having a dream day, so I'm going to be thrilled no matter what happens. But if that scenario does in fact play out, I want to give him a race. That's my goal. I want to run neck and neck with him. I've done it before. One of my breakthrough races 4 years ago now, 70.3 Texas, ran together with Andy Potts, jostling elbows, bumping shoulders, and to this day it's still one of my highlight experiences as a professional triathlete. So I'd love to see it happen again, and I've done my best to prepare to make it happen. Oh, I'm extremely nervous. I'm not going to feed you a BS answer and try and play it cool like a lot of pros do. I haven't slept really well the last 2 nights, and I need to get my act together with that because not sleeping leading into a race is not a good thing. Yeah, anxiety levels are really high right now. With this long block, I put a lot of pressure on myself. There's a huge opportunity cost and a huge investment of time and energy in this race. And that's something that I've shied away from before because it does create pressure, and no one's putting more pressure on myself than me.